Yeah, what's up, guys? It's Weil from Weil Sounds. Hopefully you can hear my voice and you could hear the audio there. This is my second time recording this video because the first time it didn't work at all. Anyways, my name's Weil and I'm an audio engineer. I'm a producer. My specialty, I would say, is mixing. So I like to mix a bunch of different stuff. And a couple weeks ago, I posted a cover of Post Malone's song Circles. And it was really fun to make. So I figured I'd show you guys how I made it and, you know, some of the mixing and other stuff I like to do. So this is Logic right here, for those of you who don't know, Logic Pro X. And it's the DAW I like to use. Some people use Pro Tools, some people use Ableton, Cubase, FL Studio, but I like Logic, so that's the way it is. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. So the first element we have here that comes in the beginning is the guitars. Sounds pretty nice. There's all these plugins here. And then that's all in a track stack, and it's really these three guitars put together. So let me just loop this intro. There's some automation and stuff going on there too. So this is the first guitar track that I recorded, and it's really just playing like the rhythmic accents and things like that, because I'm gonna layer some other stuff over it to make it this really cool kind of cohesive sounding unit. So that's the main one, and then there's this guitar track which is literally playing the exact same chords but with no accents, just straight, just to add that layer underneath the consistency. And then just the little clicks, just because I noticed in the recording his guitar sounds so staccato and so like crispy sounding. So that's without it. You can kind of hear it from the other guitars, but it really adds that. It almost sounds like a guiro or something. So I just really like that sound a lot. So all these guitars are going into all of this craziness right here, but I'll just take you step by step first. This bad boy right here, just getting some EQ. It's just cutting out. This is how the guitar was recorded without anything on it, just how it went in here. So cutting out some of those low frequencies, and just boosting these highs and cutting out some of the mids there that weren't super necessary. And then next, that is going to our Axe, Renaissance Axe, which is a great guitar plugin. You can use it on bass too. And honestly, I don't know if it's a compressor or a limiter or both or what it does, but it just makes everything sound so crispy, and the attacks and everything just is glued together so much. So I love this plugin. And next, we have our good old CLA 3A. So throughout this video, you're going to see how much I use this plugin. I just got the new CLA series of compressors, and they're freaking beautiful. They sound so good. I love them. Super awesome investment. And the CLA 3A was the one that really caught my ears. So throughout this whole production, I kind of slap it on a bunch of stuff that maybe it doesn't even really need to be there, but I was just kind of messing around with it. So I think it adds some cool stuff. So just doing a bit of light compression there, nothing too crazy. And then one last EQ, just kind of giving it a little bass boost here, cutting out some more lows and bringing up the highs a little bit more. So the next thing, these are all, I'm pretty sure, processed the exact same way. Yep, it's literally just copy and paste settings for all of these. You can see in the mix window here, if you don't know, Command 2 will bring up your mix window, and Command 1 is your edit window. So those are fun little shortcuts. That's cool. And then those are all going to this guitars bus. So this is where the fun stuff happens. So now these are all together, all layered together. So the first thing we got is some EQ, more bass boosting, cutting at lows, bringing up the highs. And this plugin is doing a lot. The CLA unplugged. I like this because for some things, you know, it has this basic bass EQ, treble EQ, compressor, 2 reverbs, and a delay. Sometimes I like having more control and like for me to be able to choose what goes in there. But these have really great settings already built in, and it makes your workflow super easy. So I can take these out. Yeah. It just adds a little bit of bass in there, of the upper bass frequencies. And then this is brightening it. So yeah. And then we have some compression, some reverb, and another slight little reverb. You know, I can turn these off. Yeah, and that's like completely dry except for this reverb that's on there, but whatever. So we'll set that back. And then we have another CLA 3A, like I said, just doing some light work. Yeah, it's just doing some light compression, nothing too crazy, just to glue them all together. So now this baby right here is where the fun stuff is happening, because if you open up the automation, okay, well that's the high frequency for one, but we can look at all the automation that's happening here. These are 2 of the parameters. These 2 control the 2 outsides, so they're both starting at -10 right here, which is right there, -10 pan, and then they go out to -45 and 45, and they're just inverses of each other, which is why it's negative and positive. So that's essentially what it's doing. It's starting off and then it's spreading out. So that's what it sounded like to me. They did on the record in the beginning. Maybe they didn't do that, but I just thought it would be a cool idea. It sounds pretty cool. Another Renaissance axe. Just for even more glue and a little bit of beefiness. So you can see last here we have our EQ. That's automated, obviously. You see it starts at 2,000 hertz and then it automates all the way up to just not being on. That's what 20,000 means, basically. So yeah, that's just to build the intensity. You know, it sounds really muffled at first, and the guitar lead kind of shines through, and then it brightens up once the beat pops in. So that happens, and it also does that in all the pre-choruses, everything leading up to the choruses. It starts more muffled and then builds its way up. These next things you can see here, okay, these are all the distortion, the supercharger, and the transient master. And these are all bypassed until right here. So now it sounds crunchy. Like if I take these off, that's that nice chill. But the recording is not like that at all. Once the beat comes in, everything is crunched together, and it sounds like really distorted, and it's, you know, but it also sounds nice. So that was kind of my dilemma, was like, how do I, you know, make that again with it sounding nice? So I just some basic Logic distortion. Just crunching it up a little bit. This plugin is doing a lot. This plugin is from Native Instruments, called the Supercharger, and I love to use it on drums too. And it's a compressor that like really creates this strong like pumping effect, like that. Really, you hear the compression. It's not like a subtle thing. It's meant to be like pumping. At least that's how I like to use it, and that's what the record sounded to me when I was listening to it. Like it has sounded this super compressed, like pumping feel. So that's why that's on there. And the last thing is this transient master that I went crazy with, and I turned down the sustain all the way, 100% down. So it's supposed to just be like just like staccato basically, even though they're strummed chords. And then the attack is up 50%, so it's just even that more staccato, and the attack is just like super, super strong with it. And without. Yeah, so it just coupled with the boominess from the drums and the crunchiness, it all sounds really, really nice together. So that's basically it for the guitars. So the next thing I'll show y'all is this guitar lead line, is the main hook line that we all know so well. Oh yeah, it's got like a frequency, a harmony resonance in there that's kind of annoying me. So it's going into reverb, obviously. Hold on, let me put the reverb back on these guitars. Yeah, and this is it without anything. You can hear that, just like there for no reason. Just the harmonics are really poking through. So the first thing I did was filter it like crazy. You still hear that high frequency, but it's a bit more lo-fi now. Through this simple Logic amp, just preset crunch, moving air. I probably messed around with these a bit. So the next fun part that you see here is this is a wah pedal, a vintage wah. It's another just stock Logic pedal. And I noticed in the original that it's doing this wow wow sort of thing, and it definitely sounded like they had a wah pedal, but they're probably using an electric guitar. So I did that by automating it. If you look here, yeah, there's the pedal board pedal position automation, and I did that by putting it into touch mode, and then just playing it in by pushing this up and down. It's an easy way to do it. So we'll record all of it in there for you, and then you can just copy and paste it, and it all stays the same. So that's like the only automation I did for that, really. Except for this Brower motion thing is also. Next, after that, we have another EQ. I guess just to take out more lows. I thought that they were getting in the way. And then our axe, which I showed you before, is just a sort of limiter compressor thing. Just holding those attacks like the same level for the most part. And then a CLA3A, because why not? Might as well throw it on there. Not doing that much crazy compression. Yeah, a little jump up there to 3, but like it's just adding some good emulation of analog stuff. You know, that stays in the middle, in the beginning. It's this bad boy is not on. So basically, what that thing does is, this is a panning plugin that I got from Waves. It's super, super awesome. Here, I'll repeat. So if you're listening in headphones, this will be a lot more noticeable in headphones. Or I mean, if you have a really good monitor setup that's, you can really hear stereo image good, then you'll be able to hear it. So I just kind of chose this preset somewhere. I don't know where it is. But it's cool. It's just shifting it, just swirling it around. And then lastly, they're going to this Hall verb right here, which is just Valhalla, that is getting compressed by the kick, sidechain compression. So yeah, with the reverb. So you hear that reverb? You hear how it's pumping? It's pumping on the quarter notes on where the kick would be, because it's sidechain to the kick. That's literally it. I didn't really do much automation other than that. I just took this at the end and put it super quietly. Oh, I just turned down the gain like -12 dB. because it's super faint at the end when all of the vocals are like, you know, really crazy out there. So let us move on over to the synths. And I guess I'll start next with this little synth lead here, because it doubles this guitar part. Yeah. With this, while it's moving around. Let's take everything off. Yeah, it's just this preset here from Alchemy, which I like to use Alchemy a lot for my synths. You know, you can control a lot of things with Alchemy, and I like messing around mainly with these main effects they put down here. So, yeah, that was a synth sound that I like. So then we filtered it through the CLA on there, 3A, just because why not? Even though that's not really the best reason to use a compressor. I'm telling you guys right now, I just got these new CLA compressors and I just felt like putting them on everything. So I did. And it still sounds good. So whatever. This is possibly one of my most favorite plugins. I use it so much. And it's a doubler. It just splits the signal, and it can make you be able to put it anywhere you want, like I did with the guitars. And that's the center signal right here. And you use these buttons just to choose which ones you want in and out. And so without it, it's pretty down the center. I mean, it's still a stereo track, but, and then when I change this, you can hear how it's just on the sides. Like there's no information in the middle. It's just split on the sides. And then I guess another EQ just to filter out some of these lows that were there for whatever reason, or maybe they weren't there. I just kind of put that thing there. It's never a bad idea to just to low cut at the end, just to be safe. You might as well. Unless you're taking out some stuff that like is going to make your song sound good. But that wasn't in that case. So then that's going to the hall reverb again. I think all of the instrumental tracks are all going to the same. It's just Valhalla, 3-second decay, 15-second pre-delay. Low cut is at 600 and 5100 is the high cut. And that is just to make space for everything else. We don't want the bass frequencies or even the low mid frequencies to be clashing with the bass and low mid content that's coming from the tracks. And same with the high stuff. You know, we don't want to get in the way of the hi-hats and all the sparkly vocal stuff. That's that. That's our first synth lead sound. And our second synth sound comes in the first chorus. It's just this. Super quiet. It's like you have to listen super closely when you listen to Post Malone song. It's really hard to hear. It's just providing the most basic harmonic content. I think I'm just playing upper, like, yeah, that's C with the G on the bottom. It's actually E minor 7, but I'm not playing the E. And then the top of a F major 7 when there's an F in the bass, and then just F major. The seventh goes up to the F. So just super simple chords. Yeah. So that's got a little bit of reverb. I'll take that off. I'll show you. It sounded like a vintage synthy, like a Mellotron or like some sort of lo-fi kind of sound. So I decided Mellotron. So that's it with nothing. We did some filtering. Just to be safe, taking some out of the low mids out of there, just not to clash with anything. And we're doing the same thing. We're doubling it, except we're leaving in the center signal. Just right down the middle. And now it's got its buddies on the side. So I really like doing stuff like that just to make the stereo image bigger. And then our CLA 3A, like I said, is just on there to add warmth, to keep things even. Maybe it doesn't even need to be there, but I put it there. And then just a little bit of reverb. Just a tiny bit, you know, the when the vocals come in, their reverb is like the ones that take the cake. So I didn't want that getting in the way too much. So yeah, that basically just comes in back in the second half of the chorus, you know, like the post-chorus part, second verse, post-chorus, and then the last chorus, it's in there the whole time. So that's that first synth. And then we have our high synth here, which comes in during the post-choruses. So this high synth here, what are we playing? So that's really, there'll be a C on the bottom, so that's there. And then E minor 7, and then F major, like add the 9 up there, and then the same thing, and then it goes down to just an F major triad. Also, let me preface this by saying I think I got some of the chords wrong, and I noticed that in the chorus, where I played that 9th there, the G, it is it's really supposed to be F minor 7. I'm pretty sure. Like in the bridge, the chords, it goes F major 7 to F minor 7, and I'm pretty sure it's supposed to do that in the choruses too, but I didn't catch on to that. But it sounds good. The harmonies are there, everything's fine, so it's cool. So this is another Alchemy preset, just going to the reverb. Just this 80s digital piano preset. And just mess around with some of these settings here, the cutoff and delay, a little bit of reverb that's built in. So then we filter it even more, just so it's not taking up a crazy amount of space. And we do our doubler trick, so we can push it out to the sides and leave the middle for the drums and the lead vocals and other things. So now it's all spread to the outsides, kind of like our synth is. Yeah, so those both are like literally just on the outside. There's nothing in the middle. And then CLA 3A, what a surprise that would be on there, right? And then that's just going to our hall reverb again. That's it. Yeah. So everything is much louder than the synths. The synths are really there just to add some harmonic support, but it's not supposed to be like crazy in your face. Only in the bridge do the synths like really shine. The last synth that we have here is this low synth, and this comes in, you know, only towards the end, and it's the bridge sound here. So yeah, there's the F minor 7. These are all just root position. Oh, except for this one. Yeah, it's just playing the upper structure. And then E minor 7, F major 7, F minor 7. This does not have much going on. It's literally the same exact 80s digital piano, just pitched down lower. I just added no EQ. That's literally there for no reason. I guess I liked how it sounded, and I was like, I don't need to change anything about it. Just added some reverb on there, and it's panned to the right because that's the way it is in the recording. I'm pretty sure that for his bridge, it's like it's probably an electric guitar that has a lot of effects on it. At least that's what it sounds like to me. But I had already finished recording all the guitar, and I don't have an electric guitar, so I figured I'd just supplement it with a synth because why not? So yeah, you hear it's on the right side, and the drums are all on the left side. Yep. So that's it for the low synth, and then it just comes in the outro a little bit. Nothing crazy at all. So those are our synths. So we did our synths, we did our guitars. So let's do the bass next. I'll leave the drums for second to last because they're so much fun. So let's take a listen to this slam and bass part. Okay, so with nothing, it sounds like pretty garbage, pretty complete nasally garbage. I recorded it on my roommate's old bass that like I had to get the plug in this perfect position or I wouldn't work. Like the pickup was super messed up, but I used it, and I'm actually playing this with a pick on the bass because when I listen to the song, the bass sounds very prominent and you can hear all the articulations very well. And I feel like it was maybe actually played with the pick, but I wasn't sure, so I just played it with one. So yeah, first thing we're doing here is just cutting up all these unnecessary highs and then the low mids right here, just taking them out. And then just boosting these bass frequencies kind of like in between the sub of the kick and these annoying low mid frequencies, just where the bass sits really nicely kind of between like 100 and 250. Just giving that little 126 a boost right there. And then into this bass amp, which is doing a lot. Was just a preset on Logic, but I probably tweaked some of these settings, these bass settings and the treble and stuff. So not the best amp emulator, you know. I definitely, something I want to invest in is better amp emulators. I've heard that the neural DSP stuff is good. The stuff that Pliny uses is, I've heard, is really great. But right now I'm just using Logic stuff, but it works. It makes it sound like it's more real coming through an actual amp. So next we have our axe again, you know, and it's made for, you know, 6-string or whatever guitars, because there's an R bass one as well, but I don't have the R bass one, and it works pretty much just as well. Without just more consistency and more beefiness. Yeah, and it brings out some of those articulations that I'm really trying to accentuate. And lastly, we have our CLA3A. You know, doing like 3 dB max there. Yeah, just controlling the slides and the resonances. So that's that for the live bass. It sounds pretty nice. Just, it's literally the same part just over and over again, and all I did was automate the volume just to match with the dynamics of the song. You know, when you crush stuff and you compress it and make it all, you know, very not super dynamically crazy, you kind of have to write that stuff in yourself with automation and still, you know, have dynamics be in the song. So as it gets up to the chorus, you know, it's increasing throughout the pre-chorus, and it comes back down for the verses, and the same thing. And then the last chorus, it's super loud. I mean, not super loud, but it's pretty bumping. So that's that for the live bass. Next, I'll show you the sub bass. It's very low. It's very low in the mix. Because when I was listening, this actually took me a long time to figure out whether there even is a sub bass or not. Like, I was listening so much and I was like, is there a sub underneath the live bass part? There was. So I listened really closely, and it's super prominent. I'll go to the bridge is where it's, you know, and it does a swell. Yeah. Well, it cuts out there, but you get the idea. Just for the build up. Let it go. Yeah. Let's take this all off. And I'll just repeat this part right here. So it's just another another Alchemy preset, this dark heavy bass, and I moved it from dark and snappy to solid sub. That was about it. Probably just mess around with these settings. No reverb, no chorus. So that's that. And then I added a little EQ here. Just for any of those high harmonics that might be getting in the way of the live bass part and all the other stuff. That's the good stuff that's happening up here. I didn't want it clashing. And then lastly, I have R compressor, just not the R axe on this one, because I mean it's not a bass. I guess you could put that plugin on anything you wanted, but I thought the R compressor, the Renaissance compressor, would work better here. Yeah, and you can see it's just keeping an even, consistent level. You know, it's pretty common in pop or hip hop or, you know, modern music genres that the bass is like at a pretty consistent level, and if you want it to change throughout, you're gonna usually automate the volume. So only it's negative 15.5 throughout, and then it goes to negative 13.5 for this bridge, and then goes up and then stays at negative 13.5. So not much change, because the whole time it's supposed to kind of be laying low underneath everything, just adding this kind of this subby warmthness that is not super noticeable until you take it away, really. I'm gonna mute this. It still sounds good and sounds full, but it sounds like it's missing something to glue it all together. You know, the sub in the kick is all right, and the live bass, it's giving us enough bass content, but when you add this sub, just adds a nice growl down there. And if you play it with both these together, yeah, sounds pretty good. So that's that for the sub bass. Pretty simple stuff. That's what I like to hear. So let's so this last bass part here, I wouldn't have intended for it to be MIDI. I would have played it in the live part, but I didn't notice that it was in there for this outro. There's just a little staccato, like do 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 do. And this right here is literally just a Logic preset, like from the sound library, like muted bass, and it automatically opens up this bass amp, compressor, flanger, and pedal board. And I just left it because I like the way it sounded as it was. You know, you got to work with what you got sometimes. And this is what I have. And it's one of my favorite ones that's a stock Logic sound. So I did a good amount of EQing because the sub is playing at the same time. So it's really mainly intended to be there to add the staccato-ness and the pluckiness that you kind of hear at the end. So that's why I boosted up these highs a lot and I cut out the lows a lot more. Let's hear it without it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's really brightening it up and getting rid of those lows a lot. And the last thing to really take it home is this Fresh Air plugin. That I love this plugin so much. Shout out to Slate Digital for this. It's free. You should go get it. Like, if you're watching this video and you don't have this plugin, go get it. It's literally free. It'll take you 2 seconds. It's called Fresh Air, and it's just an exciter. It's just meant to boost the high ends, but it does it in a way that controls the high frequencies, so the really harsh ones don't stick out so much. So it's not the same as just, you know, going to the high pass on your EQ and just like turning it up. It's different than that. It actually controls it in a different way. So it sounds really nice. Let's hear it without it. And with. Oh. much more muffled like this, and then with it, it's just bright, and it allows it to cut through the sub. Yeah, and they're not really clashing too much, you know. They're kind of glued together nicely, but I wouldn't say that they're necessarily clashing. So yeah, that's it for the bass. Just this live bass that repeats. It's got this sub bass, and then I just did this MIDI muted bass that's only MIDI because, you know, I didn't realize that it was there at the time that I was recording. So that is that. And what do I want to do next? Okay, I'll show you these little cymbal sweeps because they're not, you know, they're literally just, you know, what they're called, cymbal sweeps. Whoa. So that's just something I got from Splice. Splice is a sampling app where you go onto their website and you can download these from hundreds of thousands of sounds that they have. And these are, you know, my drum samples, and they're all organized by kicks, or if I want, you know, a snare or something. So this was just a cymbal sweep that I got from Splice, and I put a little bit of reverb on it, and I put this doubler on it, just to put it to the outsides. Like I love this plugin so much, I didn't want the cymbal sweep to be in the middle and like be covering up anything. So it's just on the outsides, and it sounds really nice. So that goes there before the intro, going into the chorus. Again, post-chorus, going into the chorus, going into the post-chorus, and then going into the chorus. So nothing crazy, just some cymbal sweeps just for transitions. And then this is a super short sweep that is at the end of the bridge. Yeah, I like that. I like that one a lot. Yeah, and especially like coupled with the bass. Yeah, it sounds really nice. So, the only really thing I did here was take out the lows without it. Yeah, you hear that a lot more. So I just cut them out around 2K with I guess it's a pretty steep curve, but yeah, it just sat where I liked it. So that's all I needed. No reverb, no anything, no compression, because why would you need that? So one of the rare situations where I don't just throw a CLA 3A on something because I think it's gonna make it better. It already sounds great as it is. Okay, so those are our little sweep effects. So that's that. So now onto the mamma jamma, the big bam ba dam. I don't know what I just said. But drums. This is fun. So let's just give a little listen to just the drums. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty repetitive, pretty on the grid. Maybe I should have humanized those rhythms a little bit, but it's fine. Let's take off these plugins. Yeah. I mean, you can tell the individual tracks are processed like that, but it doesn't sound like a glued together cohesive unit. So first thing I did was just add some EQ sculpting. And even that in itself, just making sure everything is curving the same way when it comes to EQ is kind of gluing it together a bit. You know, I'm boosting some of this subby bass where the kick is, taking out some of these low mids where, you know, the kick resonances and the resonances and the snare can kind of get in the way, and then just boosting these highs up there for the hi-hat and the crispiness of the snap. Yeah. And then we got a CLA 3A. Just 3 dBs of compression max. And then we have our stock Logic distortion plugin. It really, I hear it so much in the kick. it makes it like growly. Like the kick drum, you can hear a growl in it. Like it still sounds so nice and clean, but it's also like pushing so hard. So I really like how that sounds, and that's what the drum sounds are like on this track overall, like on the original Post Malone song. So next thing I added was this supercharger plugin. This was the same thing I put on the guitars to make them sound like super compressed, and I did the same thing. It was just the drum bus preset, and I just messed around with these a little bit. Yeah. Got dirt and punch. So without and with. Yeah, I just feel like it's pumping everything together a little bit, and it's that kind of compression where like you kind of want to hear the pumping to it, you know. It's kind of the point of it. At least that's how I feel. It's called the supercharger. I would imagine that's what it's for. It's by Native Instruments. It's just great. So last thing is our Fresh Air plugin. So without it and with, yeah, it's really brightening it. You really hear it in the hi-hats, and I mean you can hear it on everything right now. It's just doing 5 and 5, which is nothing too crazy, but it just brightens everything. So without and with. Cool. So I'll turn all of these off right now, and we can go through track by track. So here's our kick. Just another sample. Sent it through Torque, which is a drum tuner. Basically, it's supposed to be really natural sounding, and it is. I try to use it on a lot of different tracks to tune stuff. The peak resonance is kind of around a D, and I wanted to bring it to a C, so I brought it down by 15 cents, and now it's in C. Yeah, it's really subtle, but it just makes it in the tune of the song, and it just glues it together a bit better. So then we have some EQ. Yeah, there's some frequencies in there that are popping out a lot, like yeah. So wanted to take that boy out of there. Yeah, I think the attack was like really strong. Yeah, yeah, so I wanted to control that a little bit, cut out some of the lows, the low mids, and then give it a little sub boost. And then after that, just going to a CLA 3A. And honestly, this is probably not the best compressor for the job. I should have probably used a CLA 76, the blackie or the bluey. But I just wanted to mess around with the CLA 3A. I mean, I thought it sounded great, and I had just gotten these plugins. So, you know, it's not like this is a mix that someone's paying me to do. You know, I was like, got these new plugins, might as well put them to work, you know? So it just goes to show, just stay curious. And even if it's not necessarily the right move, just throw different stuff on different stuff and see what it's gonna do. You know, it's nothing too crazy or serious. Like once you have a basic idea of what you're doing and trying to shape the sounds with EQ and compression and stuff, you can start like experimenting a little bit. And I just wanted to experiment with this compressor here. So that's why you see it on a lot of different things. So next we have our main snare bus. Let me just play all these all together. So I don't know if you can hear, but on beat 4, it's spread out a little bit more. It's like doom, 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 and I did that basically with these. So this doubler is first just doing -10 and -10 with nothing in the middle. So let's just play this. So you can still hear that there's two kind of flams, but they're still in the center. And then these are at -20 and -20, so much more towards the outside more, which is pretty common thing in pop production, having like one of your snares or claps, you know, on 2 is on the inside and on 4 is on the outside, or vice versa, just to add some cool stereo effect and stuff like that to your snares. And then this is the main snare that just plays on all the 2s and 4s. So let's go back to this low snare here. Take everything off. Just pop, and just did a little filtering. Didn't need that super low. Didn't need the super highs. A little torque just to tune it. Yeah, it's kind of it's pushing it up higher. And then CLA3A again, which once again, all of these CLA3As that are on the drums, except for maybe the drum bus, they should probably be 76s or something with a much faster attack and release time, because this one is quite slow, even though I do like how it sounds. And then the doubler I showed you. Yeah. So that's that for that. And this I processed the same way, just with a little bit different settings. I needed to turn it down and make it lower in the C range because it was already so high. So yeah, and then it has another CLA3A on it. Yeah, and then the doubler, just spreading it out. Okay, so that's that. And then our main snare right here. Some fun stuff. You hear the decay on that, or the sustain? It's like so long. I didn't like that. Okay, well, the first thing I did was tune it. Yeah, it kind of just pushes up that resonant frequency a little bit, just to put it in C. And then our transient master, see, I turned down the sustain by -38 and a little 5% boost. Yeah, and that's what controls that, the sustain. Yeah, just makes it tight, which I like. And then this is just to control this, you know. Doop. Don't need that. So, and then brightened it a little bit just with some EQ. And then, what a surprise, CLA3A again. Just because, why not? Okay, so then all 3 of those are going together to this main snare bus where it's being EQ'd. Just rolling off the lows and a little bit of brightness. And they're getting compressed again, which this should probably be a 76. But it is what it is. I liked messing around with the CLA3A. Okay, so we're going down our thing. Okay, so next we have our clap. I'll turn off the settings from the bus without anything. Much lower. You can hear there's a lot more lower frequencies in there. Okay, so transient master, same thing. We're just gonna increase the attack and get rid of the sustain. The cutoff is much cleaner. It's much tighter. This one's like holding on. This one's just like super quick and choppy, and I like that in like a clap. So next is, this is gonna, you know, brighten it up a lot and cut off a lot of those lows. I guess I decided to, yeah, that was annoying me a little bit. So I just brought that down a little bit and then boosted the high. And then I'm just not even going to say anything. And then this is where we get that cool stereo image, because you know, all the snares. I mean, the snares do widen a little bit, but for the most part, they're down the center. So I wanted the claps to be on the outside and have it a much more full, you know, drum stereo image. So having the claps like that, and I mean, they're not hard panned all the way, but yeah. And then we have our chorus snare. Oh yeah. So without anything. Didn't do that much to it. Just this resonant frequency. I guess I like that. Low mids. I mean, just mid-range in general, cutting it out and boosting the highs. And a CLA3A because the attack is so fast and I love it now. Should have used a 76, but it's okay. Yeah, so that's that, and these all go together in this clap tom bus, and that's because when you have the doom doom doom, those are the ones that are playing together for the most part. And I kind of wanted to process those together, so let's just go to the tom right here. Just brought down that resonant frequency down so it's to C instead of on this D sharp here. And then here's the EQing I did, and you'll see that it takes out a lot of the sub, and I just wanted to add the slamminess from this mid-range and the high range, the high end. Without. The sub is like too much. Honestly, maybe I should have left that because the kick is not even playing there, so I guess there's room for that sub-biness, but I'll just leave it how it is for now. Yeah, I kind of wanted it to be more slamming sounding and not so resonant. And then CLA3A, which is compressing it at pretty high, almost up to 5 dB of compression, just to slam it. Cause why not? These are some slamming drums, so let's just slam them. Okay, so now let's listen to these together. So this is a tiny bit of high end, getting rid of the low subby material that may have been overlooked. And another CLA3A. Shout out to Chris Lord Algae. If you can't tell how much I love your compressors yet, especially the CLA3A, I very much love them, and I am glad I made the investment. So, swag. I don't know why I just said swag. Okay, moving on. Hi-hats, because those are important, right? Those are like a thing that, you know, I'm a drummer, by the way. Like I went to Berkeley for drums. I mean, and production, but my main instrument was drums. So I like drum production. I feel like that's a lot of thing that a lot of producers struggle with, because if it's not something that comes natural to you, or you haven't like practiced it or like thought about it that much, it's not the easiest thing to make like super dope grooves and rhythms and polyrhythms and stuff that's going to make people want to dance if you don't really know much about, you know, drumming at all. So I think that knowledge helps me a lot, which is why I would say this stuff is all way too much on the grid. Like I just kind of put it there. I should have gone back and maybe humanized the rhythms a little bit, but it's fine for now. So let's listen to this hi-hat without anything. You can see it's panned to the right just a little bit, just so it's not down the center, and, you know, sounds almost like in a real drum set recording where it would be from the audience perspective, unless you're a lefty drummer. Anyways, so see, the offbeats are all accented. So first one is negative 10 dB, and then it's negative 2 dB. So 8 dB of difference in the accents. Yeah, just accenting those hi-hats. I mean, the offbeats, obviously they're hi-hats. Okay, all right. So there's a lot of kind of like low information on those hi-hats, and I didn't like that. Yeah. It almost sounds kind of like that. I mean, It sounds kind of not great like that, but in the context of all the drums, it sounds fine because I don't need all this stuff here. It's been taken up by the claps and everything that else that it's going on. So I didn't really need those in the hi-hat. So on its own, it doesn't sound like the most fullest, most natural sounding hi-hat, but in the context of the track, it sounds really nice. So I just did a little bit of brightening here since I, filtered it so much. And then I couldn't justify putting a CLA 3A on a hi-hat, so I had to use a 76, but I should be using these a lot more. Fastest attack, fastest release. I mean, now is this even milliseconds? I don't know, 1 millisecond. Yeah. And it's like, the accents are still there, you hear them, but it's just keeping everything at a much, much more even sort of level and an even placement. Yeah, it's just controlling the sound a bit. That's what I was going for. So that is that. And then the last thing that is in this drum bus is the impact clap that comes after the yeah, just the so I think on this one is where torque is actually doing a lot here. I'll turn the reverb off. I'll turn everything off. It's going to sound really bad. I totally forgot what sample I used, but like, what is that? It's like, I don't know. It's just very not pleasant. So the first thing I did was torque, and look, 400 cents. 400. So that's doing a lot. And with it, it's so yeah, it's bringing it down a lot. And then when I filtered it, okay, so this does a lot. Yeah. So seems like there was a resonancy here that I didn't like. Oh yeah. So yeah, just got rid of some of the lows and rolling off some of the highs there. Hey, CLA 3A. How much? Oh, almost up to 5 dBs compression. Don't know if that's super necessary, but it's there. Okay, and then I rolled off the highs like super strong because as I was listening to Post Malone's version more, I realized how lo-fi or just was not much high frequency material in that clap at all. So yeah. Now it sounds like it's actually far away. It's like something really far in the distance, and this kind of cool clap. And then the doubler with nothing in the middle, just to put it on the outside. Boom. They're on the outsides only. And then linked with the hall verb. Yeah. And this reminds me, check it out. I'm just going to solo. Okay, so we did all that. Those are all the drums. So let's go on to this hall reverb. Where the heck is it? There it is. That all the instrumental tracks are going to, or whichever ones I want reverb on. It's all under this same reverb. So let's solo that. I don't know if you can you should be able to hear the pumping effect because it is sidechained to the kick, which is, yes, you can and you should in many cases. Well, it depends on the situation, but sidechain your reverbs, whether you be sidechaining them to the vocals, which I also did in this, and I'll show you that in a sec when we go over the vocals. But you can sidechain them to the kick too. So when the reverb's playing, it's also pumping to the kick like the other synth tracks are. All this is a 3-second bright hall, 15 milliseconds, and I chose the hall because I wanted it to at least somewhat sound like a real natural space. So I cut out way of these lows. I mean, it's not way. I guess it's pretty normal for filtering. Just up to 600 to get rid of those low mids and the weird mid frequencies that could be annoying. And then cut up these highs up to 5100 just so the sparkliness wouldn't get in the way. And also I have my vocal reverb. That's a different reverb going over all of this, which is much brighter. So I didn't want the track reverb, the instrumental reverbs to get in the way of the vocal reverb. So that's why that's like that. And then I used the R compressor, see, and it's sidechained to the kick. Boom. Boom goes the dynamite. Just kidding, but check it out. Yeah, this little clipping sign here, that's probably not good. Honestly, I should probably do something about that, but whatever, it sounds fine. So just doing the pump. Yeah, and you can hear the synth reverb is doing that too. Also, if you don't know this, but the way you can, well, here, let me pull up my mix window. Yada da da. Command 2 is the mix window. All of these are pre-fader, which is a very technical meaning and many things that it means. But what it means to me is that I can solo my aux tracks, my effects, and hear them just as they are. A lot of times, if you put it post fader, this is post fader now, and you can see that the color is green, or post pan even, and that's the default when you create sends in Logic. If I try to solo whatever this is getting sent to, the hall verb, you're not gonna hear that sound going through there. Only if you put it on pre fader, then can you solo the reverb or whatever aux it's going to and actually just hear that soloed. That is that for the track. I think I went over everything in terms of instruments. Okie dokie, so let's just take a listen to the instrumental here. Cool. Sounds pretty good. So that's what all that stuff will get you. Not to mention that this is also with all my mastering stuff that's on here. This is fresh air, and we have our limiter. So technically, if I take all this stuff off, that's the mix. But I'd rather have it on, and this is where it's gonna get loud. So yeah, it sounds pretty good. So next, let's go over the vocals. So there's a lot of crap going on here in the vocals. There is, okay, so one thing that I don't like about Logic, I don't know if anyone has a solution to this, but when you have a lot of plugins on a channel strip, it cuts it off. So you can't even go all the way like up to the top and see like what would be up here. Because, you know, in my mind, this means, oh, there's nothing on this lead verse. I don't see anything here. But I go to my mix window, lead verse. Oh, and I have a gate. But yeah, so it's cutting this off, so I can't even see those. So if anyone has a solution to that, please let me know. I guess just looking in the mix window would be the thing. So let's take a look-see here. I'm going to just...
Seasons change and I love when cold. Feed the flame cause we can't let it go.
Nice. Well, I'm going to mute the... Where is it? Lead verb. Boom.
Seasons change and I love when cold.
I'm also going to not send this to the doubler.
Seasons change and I love when cold. Feed the...
So yeah, so that is with all of this this nice processing going on here, just ridiculous amount of plugins. I felt like another plugin I added would just make my voice sound better because I'm not the most singer-y of singers. I don't know. I'm trying to be nice to myself. But yeah, sometimes that happens when you get insecure in certain ways about, you know, your performance that you think when you're the musician and the producer and stuff. You think that adding more plugins is going to make it better, is going to solve problems, when in reality, I probably did not need this many plugins on here. But I'm going to show you what they all do anyways, because why the heck not? So let's listen to it without anything.
Seasons change and I love when cold. Feed the flame cause we can't let it go. Run away but we're
Yeah, there's just a gate on this one track just to cut out any of the unwanted noise in between. So the first thing we're doing is some de-essing, and we're de-essing at 6K and 9K. It's quite common to have multiple de-essers. There's probably some de-essers that can do multiple frequency ranges in the one plugin, but the Waves de-esser doesn't work like that. So I did the 6,000 and the 9,000.
Seasons change and I love when cold.
And this is just soloed basically onto this 6,000 frequency. And
Run away, I did.
The attenuation is showing you how much those frequencies are getting compressed. So 6,000 and 9,000 sounded annoying to me, so I compressed them out, de-essed them out, I should rather say. So this plugin is super cool, and I love it. It's new. It's called the Waves Vocal Rider, and what vocal riding is, or just riding, track riding, whatever the heck you want to call it, fader riding, is back. I mean, especially back in the day, and even nowadays, producers in the studio, when they wanted to get a naturally even sounding voice, whether you wanted to control the dynamics or you wanted to accentuate them, but you didn't want to be compressing stuff. You didn't want to be affecting the actual signal and having it sound squished or anything. So this literally automates the volume for you. And here you can set the range as, like, right now it's at plus 6 dB and minus 6 dB. So that is the max and the minimum that it can, that it can bring it down and that it can make it louder. So let's just listen to what it's doing.
Seasons change and I love when cold. Feed the flame cause we can't let it go. Run.
Pretty nice. And it's not, you can tell it's not compressing the signal. It's just evening out the levels. And realistically, I would probably put this on a bit of a smaller range and then do more of the volume automation myself by hand on a fader or something to make it sound more natural. But this works perfectly fine too, and it was a new plugin I got, so I figured I'd use it. Next, okay, so here's once we start shaping the frequencies a little bit.
Seasons change and I love when cold. Feed the flame cause we can't let it go.
You can hear those lower frequencies, and especially in the space that I was recording I was recording in my roommate's bedroom, so you can hear those low mids. It's not the most acoustically treated space, so pulling out this mid, a little bit boost here and then a little bit boost on the high highs, just sculpts it nicely.
Seasons change and I love.
Okay, next plugin. This plugin is the bee's knees. RVox, Renaissance Vox by Waves, freaking killer plugin. I love it. I mean, I know that Drake's mixing engineer swears by it. He says it's the secret spice that makes his vocals sound so good. And it's great for pop vocals or hip hop vocals where you want everything to be super, super even sounding, and you also want it to be very full sounding. You don't want it to sound thin. So I'll just show you without and with.
Seasons change and I love when cold. Feed the flame cause we can't let it go.
And with?
Seasons change and I love when cold. Feed the flame cause we can't let it go.
I mean, it's definitely making it louder, but it's also making it more just fuller. I hear those lower frequencies that I took out are kind of being brought in a little bit, and it's just holding the dynamics at a very even level. So then here, I used a CLA 76.
Seasons change and I love when cold. Feed the flame cause we can't let it go. Run away, but we're...
So that's bringing it to the front even more. I have a ratio of 8:1, so it's getting compressed pretty good. And the attack and release is super, super short. So this is like what you would use on drums or really hip hop vocals. But I just wanted to almost using it as a limiter just to catch those really, really quick transients. And then the 3A, of course, because why not?
Seasons change and I love when cold. feed the flame, cause we
They're better for the drawn out phrases. It does a bit more there, but honestly, after using RVox and realizing like I didn't necessarily need all this other stuff, but it was new and I had it, so I was like, might as well use it, you know. So more EQing.
Seasons change and I love when cold.
Yeah, I mean, I like how my vocals are sounding. I mean, this RVox down here is gonna bring some of that back in, but I maybe took a little bit too much of these lower frequencies out of my voice. But it still sounds good. Did a little bit of brightening, a little bit of taking away the boxiness. You know, 500 to 1,000 you'll get a really boxy, almost like wooden sounding thing. And I don't know how else to describe it. Okay, so these are just. So I added a de-esser at 10K because
seasons change and I love when cold.
There's some that are like really annoying. And I wanted to brighten it up a lot, so I had to make sure that I controlled these. And these are literally just copy and paste 6K and 9K. They're the same exact ones as these first two ones. So just doing some serial de-essing, because after you boost the highs, you know, you de-ess, and then you boost the highs, and then you de-ess again, and then you boost the highs, and then you de-ess again. At least that's pretty common for pop production and stuff like that. So that's what that was for. Maybe you didn't need 5 de-essers on this track, but it's there. So next after that is RVox again.
Seasons change and I love when cold. Feed the flame, cause we can't let it go. Run away, but we're running in circles.
And it's not there to make it that much louder. You know, it's already, at this point, I've already pushed it pretty forefront in the mix. I don't need to do more compressing. That's gonna push it forward even more. So it's just controlling it even more, making it super, super even sounding, making sure there's no points where my voice is gonna overtake anything. So this is a super sick plugin that I got recently, the F6 from Waves. If you can't tell, I love Waves plugins. I think they're great. I love the interface to them. I love, you know, even the Waves their website even. Like I think Waves are just they make great plugins. So this is a dynamic EQ, which means it's an EQ, but it also does this.
Seasons change and I love when cold.
You see?
Feed the flame, cause
You see how it's moving a little bit? And I did that because I had already taken out, you know, a good amount of the lows, and the RVox brought it a little bit beefiness back in there. But what this can do is, because you see my attack time here is, you know, closer to 10. Here, I'll put it at 10, just so it's an even number. It's going to let, for those 10 milliseconds, it's going to let that frequency through, you know, this, you know, kind of low mid area. So it's good because it tricks your ears into thinking those frequencies are there. You hear it in the fullness of the voice, like when you first say the word or whatever the phrase may be, but then it gets controlled and pulled back in as you keep, you know, sustaining it. So it lets your ear hear that frequency just for a split second. It kind of tricks your brain into thinking that it's actually there, when in reality you're taking it away afterwards.
seasons change and I love when cold. Feed the flame, cause we can't let it go. Run away, but we're running.
Yeah, you can hear in the consonants like run or seasons. That probably sounded really funny. That you can hear those frequencies coming through, but then they get controlled. And I'm just doing the same thing with this one. Really, it's just, you know, I boosted the high end, so I just wanted to control them.
Seasons change and I love when cold.
I didn't want the S's or any of those high frequencies. After that, I added our beautiful fresh air, and this is what makes my voice sound like a laser beam, and I love it.
Seasons change and I love when cold. Feed the flame, cause we can't let it go.
And without,
run away, but we're running in circles.
I mean, it's already got some good high end in there. You know, I recorded with my AKG C414 condenser microphone, and it has great high frequency response. It's a very bright sounding microphone. So it's already pretty bright sounding, but I just wanted to just take it to the next level and make my voice sound like a laser beam. So that's what this does. I can show you what it does. Wasn't even on. All right, let me show you again.
Seasons change and I love when cold. Feed the flame cause we can't let it go. Run away, but
I mean, once you get up to 100, obviously it's going to get pretty harsh because you're boosting it so much. But you can tell that, like, they're controlled. The really harsh frequencies, when you're boosting that, it's nothing, no particular frequency is really, like, sticking out too much. In these, you can just link them so that they move the same amount if you want to do that. But I like to do custom amounts just because sometimes the mid needs to not be as high as the high, or the vice versa. So here's what the highs are doing.
Seasons change and I love when cold. Feed the flame cause we can't let it go. Run away, but we're running in circles.
Yeah, so those are the really, really high highs, like 10K and above and like stuff like that. So it's boosting it a little bit, but it's also controlling the really, really harsh frequencies in there. So that's what I love about it. And lastly, we have the RX8 declicker. And I threw this on there because I figured it would just make the vocal quality and the recording sound much cleaner. I just got the RX8 element, so I was just kind of messing around with how some of them work. So I can show you when I do output clicks only. These are all the clicks that are in the vocal track. I mean, it's kind of hard to hear them, but this will show you what it's taking out. Yeah, you hear those nasty little clicks, like those don't need to be there. So that just takes them out, It's not something super, super crazy audible, but it makes the quality of the recording sound a lot better. And it doesn't affect the quality of the recording at all. So that's what helps a lot. Okay, so now I'll show you, I have this send here, which is going to the doubler, and the doubler is boom over here, so these are hard pans all the way out, and there's nothing in the middle here. I took away that signal because that's where my main vocal is going to be, and I'm burping so much. So normally I would just put that on here, but then I ran out of space, and I didn't feel like making a sub track and doing a whole second thing, and then I'd probably end up adding even more plugins just because I'm crazy like that. So I just did it as a send, and it's pre-fader, of course.
Seasons change and I love when cold. Feed the flame cause we can't let it go.
And that's none.
Run
so it's
away,
like straight up the middle.
Running in circles. Run away.
Yeah, I like to add this amount because it's not super noticeable, but it definitely makes my vocals it has a lot more stereo image to it, and it's a lot more interesting to listen to, a lot fuller. So next we have our vocal reverb.
We couldn't turn around till we were upside down. I'll be the bad guy now.
Yep.
But no, I ain't too proud.
It's got a lot of reverb on it, but let's take a look-see at what this reverb actually is. So let's even solo it. So you can hear some pumping going on in there. But let me just show you first. This is just the reverb plugin right here. So it's low cut all the way up to 800 because I want it to sound really sparkly. I didn't want any lows or even mids at all getting in the way. So I low cut it super, super high up to 800. Well, pretty high. And then, no high cut at all because I want it to be really sparkly, and I wanted all those high frequencies to be out there. 20-second pre-delay, 20 milliseconds, sorry, not 20 seconds, holy just sounded nice to me. Of course, keep your mix at 100% because this is an aux track effect. And when you put your effects on aux tracks and you're going to send your, you're going to do sends from your track to the aux track, you need to make sure that your effects are at 100% wet or 100% mix, or whatever the 100% is. It's got to be 100% that effect. And then you blend it in with these little guys here. You use these to control how much you want on there. 11.5. There we go. So yeah, this is here. Let's just listen how it is. Sounds really nice. So you may be asking me, Ozone on your reverb, if anyone knows what Ozone is a mastering suite. People use it to master stuff, and I initially got it because I thought, hey, it would be good for mastering. Let me, I learned at Berkeley how to master with Ozone from my teacher, so why not use it? But I don't know. I come to learn that I prefer mastering with these standalone plugins. I feel like they have more characteristic to them and I have better control with them. But there's some plugins in this Ozone here that I really like. And one of them is the imager in this vintage tape thing. So this imager is, it's spreading out all of the highness. So this is without it. It just spreads everything out a lot more. I really, really like how it sounds, and what you can solo the different frequencies if you just want to hear the highs. So normally it'd all be like down here, it's already pretty good, but I just wanted the stereo image to be really wide and spread out. So basically just did it for the whole thing. Just to spread out the whole thing a lot more. And then this vintage tape is doing a lot of brightening. Compensates for high frequency loss induced by reproduction tape head, because it's supposed to be a vintage tape emulator or whatever. I don't know. Adds even harmonics into tape distortion, so I just added some of these harmonics here. And this bias thing, just either this is really dark and this is really bright. So let me show you really dark. But I like it like this. Just much brighter. So yeah, that's what I did for that. And then next we just have some compressors on here. And so this is a fun thing where this is getting sent to the lead Vox bus, which is bus 4. Right here is bus 4. And basically what that's doing is anytime my signal from the lead vocal bus plays, it's going to duck the reverb. And this is how they make this effect where you hear the reverb come up a lot after he finishes his phrase. I mean, it can be done with straight up volume automation, but this way just makes it happen at the end of every phrase and you don't have to do it manually. And it also makes it so that you can put crazy wet 5.5 second long, decay times on your reverb, but then you sidechain it to the vocals and it just gives space to the vocal, because anytime you're actually saying anything, the reverb is ducking down. So you can make really wet sounding stuff like, the song So Into You by Ariana Grande. In the chorus of that song, it's so drenched and wet, and it sounds so awesome with so much, like 4 different delays on her vocals and like 6 second like reverb times, but they're all sidechained to her lead vocal, which is why it leaves space and why you can hear it so evenly and nicely. So this is a great trick I like to use. Just listen. Yeah. So with the lead Vox,
we couldn't turn around.
pushes it up.
Till we were upside down.
I'm pushing it up again. So yeah, and then this last one is just slightly side chaining it to the kick, just so it has that pumping effect.
We couldn't turn around till we were.
Yeah, with the kick, it just makes everything glued to the kick and really makes the kick punch through the mix. So I did the same thing on the hall verb, and I just decided to do the same thing on the lead verb. I gotta show you the delay, and I gotta show you the mastering. Here's the H delay, because there's the part that goes, and I still hear the echoes. Okay, so that's just a little, gotta pull up my edit window again. So this is H delay here, and these are just the settings. I put a little bit of a filter on it. So let's hear how it sounds.
Though, and I still hear the echoes. I gotta feel.
So that's a funny thing about H delay, that for whatever reason, when you like first play it, it does this really weird modulating the echoes. That's not what it sounds like. And I'm going to replay it again. And just because I've already activated H delay once, it's not going to do it again. So if you're using tracks with H delay, or, you know, projects with H delay on it, don't just open your track and then bounce it, because you'll get all those weird modulated delays in there. You have to actually play the whole track through, or at least play the parts where the H delay happens. At least to my knowledge, is how you get rid of it. And then it won't do it. So I'm gonna play it again, and it'll be gone.
Though, and I still hear the echoes. I got a feeling that it's time.
So now it's normal. And that was just, you know, it was bypassed, and it's only active when I say the echoes. And that's it. That's the only really like crazy special effect automation stuff that I did for my voice. So nothing too crazy insane. I mean, recording the vocals and just figuring out what the arrangement was in terms of what synths I should use and stuff like that. That was really the meat and bones of the whole situation. So I'm gonna just show you now my mastering chain that I did for this, and it's super simple. It's not anything crazy. So first off, let's show you. I'll keep the limiter on there, because that's just making, I mean, it's doing more than making everything louder. It's also limiting stuff actually and maximizing it and doing all kinds of good stuff. But generally, it's making it louder. So just gonna leave it on there for just because.
Seasons change and I love when it's cold. Feed the flame 'cause we can't let it go. Run away, but we're
So now I just did a little bit of EQ shaping on the overall track, just bringing out more of the sub and the kick, getting rid of these low mids that can really just be very just invasive to the listener's ears. Sometimes these low mids go woo, and they just get really annoying, and it's hard to control them sometimes. So just pulling them down on your master sometimes is a good choice. And then I wanted some brightness, some clickiness, so I just boosted 2K a little bit. And I think also I partially did that because the tonal balance control was telling me that 2K was dipping too low. So yeah, here's I'll play it without it and then with it.
seasons change and I love when it's cold. Feed the flame.
And with?
Seasons change and I love when it's cold. Feed the flame 'cause we can't.
So it's pretty subtle, but it's still gluing things together a bit better just because they're EQ'd the same way. So now we have our CLA 3A, and that is that's compressing everything together. I just got the SSL series, so I would definitely now use the SSL, the G master bus compressor. But this is just kind of going along with my CLA 3A theme of this whole project.
Seasons change and I love when it's cold. Feed the flame 'cause we can't let.
Less than 3 dB, I mean, it's for a master bus compressor, it's doing a good bit. So without it.
Seasons change and I love when it's cold. Feed the flame 'cause we can't let it go.
Yeah, I just like how it sounds. I like the response of it, and I think it glues everything together really nicely. So, I mean, second to lastly, even though I'm keeping this limiter on here, is our fresh air. So this is my exciting saturation portion, which, you know, I want to mess around with more analog emulating saturators and tape machines and stuff. But this is how I get that nice high-end crispiness to my track. So without it,
Seasons change and I love when it's cold. Feed the flame 'cause
and then
we
with
can't
it,
let it go. Run away, but we're running in circles. Run away, run.
now it feels like it's breathing. It's just doing wonders, honestly. I think it sounds really nice. It adds such nice crispiness. So you can use it on individual tracks, or you can use it on your master track, whatever you want, really. I just love how this thing sounds and how it's so easy to use to dial in really good controlled high end. So that's it, really. And then lastly, you know, to talk about mastering standards is my my L2 Ultra Maximizer, which is a very good one that's used a lot. So I'm gonna tell you, it's doing more than making it just louder, but here's without it.
Seasons change and I love when it's cold. Feed the
Much quieter, just like, yeah. And then with it,
seasons change and I love when it's cold.
so you can see that my out ceiling here is set to -0.2, and the max, you know, that means the max level it's gonna hit is -0.2. And if you ever set it to 0, it's gonna cause clipping and it's gonna cause distortion, and you do not want that when you're uploading to your distributor, however, whatever platforms, or if you're gonna put them on CDs. You don't want it to be clipping. If you're going to turn it into an MP3 file for whatever reason, a compressed audio file, you should set it to -0.7. This is just what my teacher at Berkeley told me. I don't know the scientific reason why, but if it's a WAV file, it can stay at -0.2. If it's going to be an MP3, you should set it to -0.7, probably just because of the headroom that it allows. So next is our attenuation. So this is number right here showing us how many, you know, dBs it's actually getting limited by whenever it goes over this threshold right here of -12.5. And this threshold is where you set how loud you want it to go.
Seasons change and I love when it's cold.
Yeah.
Feed the flame 'cause we can't let it.
So between -3 and -4, and that's a pretty good range. That's around the max, I would say, that you would want your track to be limited by at its loudest, most powerful point. Because you still want to keep the dynamic integrity of the track and the music that you're trying to make. You don't want to just squash everything into a big square of an audio file, even though a lot of people do. Yes. I don't know what the heck I'm trying to say. Okay, so back to limiting. So that's what that does, and you set it to -0.2. And this is the threshold that controls how loud it's going to be. So at 0,
Seasons change and I love when it's cold.
I mean, it's like not having it on at all. And as I drag it down,
Run away, but we're running in circles.
makes it louder.
Run away, I dare you to do. Seasons change and I love when it's cold.
And you see the higher I get, you know, the more, you know, it reaches a threshold to where it starts limiting stuff. And right now it's only at a -11.5. So it's going to be limiting a lot less.
Seasons change and I love
Yeah.
when
-2.5, but I put it at 12.5, -12.5 for the threshold. So it's going to be much louder, and that was like the loudest I could get it. People don't like to have to turn up the volume, but they also don't want to get their ears blasted, and they don't want distortion and all that crazy stuff that's not supposed to be if you didn't put there yourself. So you want to find that beautiful in between where you're just having enough of the limiting and it's making your track as loud as possible. And I found that this was a good spot for that. So lastly, I'll show you my tonal balance control. And this is a really, really cool plugin that I really like from Izotope, and it helps with mastering a lot, for me at least. And it has different presets here for different genres. How a jazz, the EQ curve of a jazz track is going to be different from an orchestral track. It's going to be different from a reggae track. It's going to be different from a rock track. So I just put it on bass heavy. Bass heavy is very similar to the pop one. I use the pop one a lot because I mix a lot of pop music. But I put bass heavy because, with the kick and the live bass and the sub bass, I knew there was going to be a lot of bass content in here. So I figured as long as it was within the bass heavy preset, then it'll be okay. So let me just show you a little bit of what that is actually doing here.
Seasons change and I love when it's cold. Feed the flame 'cause we can't let it go. Run away, but we're running in circles. Run away, I dare you to go. Seasons change and I
That's
love when it's
orchestral.
cold. Feed the flame 'cause we can't let it go.
Yeah. And you saw, on my EQ here, I did a boost at 2K, and I think that was because without it, there's a pretty big dip at 2K, and I wanted to get it to get into this middle, ideal line here. So that's why I boosted the 2K. So, okay, very, very, very last trick I'll show you is mixing in mono, and that's what I have this gain for. It's just utility stock Logic gain plugin, and it just has a mono button. So when I turn it on, it's mono.
Seasons change and I love when
And when I
it's
turn it off,
cold.
it's stereo.
Feed the flame 'cause we can't let it go.
Not all devices that people listen to your music on are going to be stereo. Obviously you want to make it sound the best in the best setting possible, but you also want to make it sound best in the worst setting possible. So when people are listening to your music off their iPhone or from a Bluetooth speaker that doesn't have stereo, you still want it to sound good. So that's where mixing in mono can help a lot and make you realize, how it's actually going to sound on certain devices and whether your elements are actually balanced. When you start panning things, it can start making it hard to really gauge the relationship in volume and what is actually sticking out and what's in place. So when you mix in mono, it helps you figure that out. And so when you hear me play it in mono here, everything still sounds pretty even. It's going to sound not nearly as nice as stereo, but you can still hear all the elements. The only thing I would say is maybe the bass, the live bass is a little bit too loud. Maybe I should have brought that down, but it sounds pretty good. Check it out.
Seasons change and I love when it's cold. Feed the flame 'cause we can't let it go. Run away, but we're running in circles. Run away, I dare you to do.
That's it, guys. I guess I didn't go over my background vocal parts, but all I did was I didn't even re-record them. I just flex pitched them and just moved all the notes around. I just duplicated my lead chorus track and just moved around the notes. So if I just solo these two, you'll hear they sound super robotic, and that's because it's flex pitch playing the notes. It's not me actually singing them.
Seasons change and I love when it's cold. Feed the flame 'cause we can't let it.
It sounds so weird. Oh wait, am I still in mono? Oh yeah, I am. Okay. I was like, why does it sound so weird?
Seasons change
There you
and I
go.
love when it's cold.
So yeah, but they're in the background. So when I add the lead there, that's actually more natural. So it still sounds pretty robotic because of all the tuning I did.
Seasons change and I love when it's cold. Feed the flame 'cause we can't let it go.
It all sounds pretty natural. I guess as natural as I was trying to make it while sounding like a robot. So that is that, guys. That is how I, created and I mixed and I mastered this whole cover project for you guys. If you liked and gals and everything in between. Sorry, I just say you guys as a thing. Y'all people that I all love. So yeah, this is what I do. If you like it, I'm going to make many more videos whether you want me to or not. So like this video, leave a comment, whatever comment it may be. I don't even care. Just interact. Shoot me a subscribe if you want to, stay up to date with all the new videos I'm going to be making. If you have any specific questions about anything I did in this video, suggestions, telling me, oh, you should try this or you shouldn't have done that or anything, I'm open. I'm here to learn just as much as anyone else here is. I'm not the end all be all in any case at all. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. And in that case, I will just leave you with this last little play out.
Maybe you don't understand what I'm going through. It's only me. What you got to lose? Make up your mind. Tell me, what are you gonna do? It's only me. Let it go. Seasons change and I love when it's cold. Feed the flame 'cause we can't let it go. Run away, but we're running in circles. Run away, I dare you to do something. I'm waiting on you again, so I don't take the blame. Run away, but we're running in circles. Run away, run away, run away.
I really hope that this recorded everything. Really gonna hope.